Hello everybody, this is Rita of the Shadow. Welcome. So today's topic is about the meaning of 4 in the MBTI context, because we talk about the four temples, and then we talked about the 4 quadrants, and some people might have this question, how come it's always 4? What is the reason for everything being grouped as in a series of 4? What makes us think that there are always 4 cognitive functions in the stack? And how come there are 4 characters here? And how come there are 4 types in a quadra? And how come there are 4 sides of mind? And also, how come there are 4 temples? There are 2 temples here for the INFJ, and there are the other 2 for some of the other types. So that makes the 4 temples and the 4 quadrants and the 4 cognitive functions. Why is it always 4? So we're gonna get into that in this video. And before that, I just wanted to show you, because in the last video I talked about how all the types in the same quadrant share the same cognitive functions. So this is what I mean. So as you can see, all 4 of these are Templar types. The red are the red are the Templars. So they all have exactly the same cognitive functions, just in different order, and same goes here. So if you didn't know what I mean before, this is what. So to talk about this, the meaning of 4, let's go back to the beginning, shall we? Let's take the time machine and go back to the beginning. And so the meaning of 4s. So in the beginning there was nothing, and then there's 1, and then there is 2, and then there are the 4 directions, and then there are the A trigrams. So what does this mean? So these are the numbers that we know, and these are the numbers in binary systems, and this is kind of I Ching kind of thing. So because why is everything like this? Because so in the beginning there's the unconscious, and then we become conscious. So as soon as we become conscious, there is a separation. So then we become separated from our unconscious. So in the beginning there was nothing, and then there's 1, and then there's 2. Then we have our 4 directions, or the 4 elements, or the 4 winds, which are just the further division of the 2. So the number 4 is basically just an arrow, you see. So 4 stands for the 4 directions, and that is why they are important. So when in Star Wars they say use the Force, so the directions could be also interpreted as using your inner guidance, your intuition, basically. So it's basically use your intuition to do the right thing, and then basically, except in that reality, the intuition is much more powerful. You can even dodge lasers with your intuition. So, but yeah. And And there's another meaning, which I will show you. But yes, so there are the 8 trigrams, and the 8 trigrams in binary system is like this, and it's number 8. And another thing you should know is like there are also 8 cognitive functions. So yeah. So, and then you have the 16 personality type, right? And that is this thing in the binary code. So it was said, and this also looked like the 10,000 thing. So yeah, so in Tao Te Ching, the Tao produced the 1, 1 produced the 2, 2 produced the 3, and the 3 produced the 10,000 things. So that means this is the 10,000 things that was created from the beginning. So another thing that you should know, what do they mean like 1, 2, 3? So, you know, this one makes sense, but there's no 3, right? Aha, but there it is. Let me show you. So, this one is emptiness, is nothing. And this one is, what is 1? What 1 is also 2 to the 0 power. And this one is 2 to the first power. And this one is 2 to the second power. And this one is 2 to the third power. So it means the 3 that was referred to here was not the literally 3, but the 3 in the third power. So that's why it's 8 trigrams. So it means the 8 actually created the 10,000 things. And this is the 4th power actually. So that's why there's always the number 4 in a lot of things. And these are all the important numbers in the 16 personality type as well. Because, you know, you have 1 MBTI type, and then you have the introverted versus extroverted, and then you have your cognitive functions, you know, sensing, intuition, feeling, thinking, and then the 8 separate cognitive functions when you take the 2, and then you times the 4, and then you get the 8. And then from the 8 cognitive functions, you have your 16 personality types, and that is the 10,000 things. So we get all the personalities, basically, and then, you know, and then you have your 4 sides of mind, and then you have your 4 temples and your 4 quadras, and everything like that. So yeah. So this is from one of my older notes, so I won't explain too much about this, but just to show you, there's the length and the codex. So this by itself is also kind of like yin and yang kind of thing, right? And so yeah, and the cognitive functions also, you know, first there's 2, and then it's separated, and then it's separated again into, it's like keep branching out and dividing, and then eventually we have the 8 cognitive functions. And that's why there are 4 in the ego, 4 in the shadow, 4 in the subconscious, 4 in the superego, and there's the number 4, 8, 16 again. So yeah, so this is like, you know, go back to the beginning to re-explain like how everything came here in the first place. And then again, here are the 8 cognitive functions, and then there are 4 optimistic and 4 pessimistic functions. And there are the 4 sides of mind model. If you weren't familiar with it, this is basically how it is. So if you take the 8 cognitive functions and then you put them into the ego and unconscious, that is one. That is 2 sides of mind. And then the subconscious is basically the ego in reverse order, and the superego is the unconscious in reverse order, that kind of thing. So how do we know it goes this way? What is the justification? Well, that is because the cognitive functions, they lie on something called an axis. So it's basically like this. So you have your feeling on one side, top is extroverted, bottom is introverted, and thinking on the other side. So so how we make decisions, it comes somewhere in the middle of all of this. And so that's why if you think more heavily with this one, then you will be like here, or if you think more heavily in this one, you'll be like here. So that means your cognitive function code is a rough description of how you really think. It's not so precise, but it's like an estimation. So if you are somewhere here, then you are a TEFI user because these two are on the same axis. Or if you are like somewhere here, then you are an FETI user with a more emphasis on the TI, so that makes you a TI more dominant person. So that would make TI goes before the FE also. So that will make you either probably a TI. Let me think. So TI hero or TI parent, it will go to the front in that case. Or if you are here, then it means you have T hero or T parent. So etc. etc. Or you can be somewhere in the middle, but then you are closer to the TI, so you are still a TI user. So I hope that makes sense. And if you so sometimes depends on the situation, you might have to change how you think. And in the most dramatic circumstances, you may have to completely change how you think. So that is when your functions rotate on their axis like this, and then you become a totally different type essentially. So like this. So if your ego is an FJ, and then because of some problem, people are treating you badly, they're bullying you or whatever, then suddenly you flip your thinking, and then all of a sudden you become this person who they don't know who you are. And then and yeah, so that is what happened when you flip on the axis essentially. And that's why it's subconscious is important, and the superego is basically works exactly the same way, just that it's because it's from the shadow. So shadow is already dark, so this is even more dark usually. And the goal of our life is to be able to be using our cognitive functions in a more positive way, and being able to flip your thinking without turning into a bad person, basically. And I didn't make all this up. I have sources. So I actually, before I researched into C.S. Joseph's stuff, I also, look into this cognitive personality theory by Harry Murrel. He called it the CPT theory. He's a, I think, PhD student in psychology, and he kind of researched this kind of thing also. But I only learned about the four sides of mind from C.S. Joseph, but I applied his theory and tried to see if I can reproduce the four sides of mind. And guess what? I was able to. So what I explained to you just now was kind of based on his theory, actually. But I find it applicable, so then it explains things for me. So yeah. So what I explained to you earlier was called the rotation of axis, where the functions completely in reverse order. And when you go into your shadow, he called it the impression or expression dip. So that means the introvert function changed to extrovert or vice versa. And the superego is the extension dip. So if you have so like this, so if you have intuition, it changes to sensing, and vice versa. Or if you have feeling, it changes to thinking. But the introvert versus introvert is not flipped. So this one is flipped I and E. This one is flipped the big letters. And this one is flipping the order. So they all have different ways to achieve different results, but then they all came from the ego. So yeah. And I also find different naming system representing the similar concept, where CPT called convergent versus divergent. The Jungian psychology call it the optimistic versus pessimistic. So yeah. So that's basically, again, going back to the beginning to explain the meaning from before, and I added this one also with the weapons and the elements just for your reference. So yeah, and I think I don't need to explain this one again, but green always come together, purple always come in a set. And once you know they are all on axis, then you look at them from a stack point of view, because in the cognitive function stack, different orders have different meanings, and these are the meanings people typically assign to them. And just to give the user an idea, kind of a different flavor it brings to the cognitive functions. And this is just to show you the axis they are on. And this is another way to look at the cognitive function and the axis. And yeah, so these names are very limiting, but they just to give you an idea of what the cognitive function is about in the most broader sense. So same thing here. So that leads us back to the 4 houses again, and then the master Chi. So now you should be able to understand everything that goes on in this table with that added explanation. And that's why there are 4 temples. And yeah, this one we also explained. And that leads us back to what I studied from the beginning. So this is just the updated version of my 8-gated table. And by, because I made this based on the 4 sides of mind. So because if you can get away from this one, why not also get away from this one and this one too? So I thought this made more sense to me. And if I put it this way, put it like in this order, then I can see everybody in the same quadrant as I have. And I'm still working on deciphering what this exactly means, but just to show you, I think it's quite interesting. So because so this thing doesn't remove anything from the 4 sides of mind. It just includes the middle part, right? And so that means whatever applied to 4 sides of mind, this also applies. And in additionally, so the outside is the original 4 sides of mind. So I consider it the major temple. And if what I hypothesize is correct, then it means the middle part, there is another mini temple. That is the minor temple. So that means we actually have 2 mini temples in our psyche. And yeah, so maybe that's why that's why people are so complicated. And I'm still trying to work out how to explain what I have got here. But basically you go in from this one because ego is the apex of the psyche. It thinks that it's the boss. It really isn't, but it thinks it is. But that is also important, because if ego is lost, then nobody is in charge. Nobody is running the show, and the person would be quite confused with themselves. So I hypothesize that people with personality disorders have a problem with their ego not being in charge. So yeah. So I think there are a lot of things we can learn from this. But this could be totally made up also, or just but I like to keep an open mind, and I implore you to do the same. So yeah, so thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye.